think our comrades wanted me just to talk to you for our newspaper, if that's okay.
Okay.
Is there anything in particular you would want to talk about? What would you choose to talk about? What would you like the British Labour movement to know about your organisation?
Well, I think first of all it is important for me to inform people who are interested in the situation in Israel, Palestine, and in broader Middle East about the fact that there is this kind of movement, union, or perspective that is didn't give up on the possibility of Arabs and Jews working together and overcoming race, national, religious barriers and work together because we share the same land and we share the same aspirations and we all want to live in equal and open society. So I think this is by itself today in the world of today is by itself an achievement that should be appreciated.
Sure. Yeah. So your union organisation is a general workers' organisation. Sounded from what you were saying in the meeting that you will organise workers as workers if they approach you. Are you making any specific drives to organise any particular areas?
We are for a long time putting a lot of resources and concentration on the situation of organizing, educating, empowering Arab women in Israel.
Yes.
We have established a very important presence in this arena in terms of organizing, in terms of public opinion, in terms of promoting the right of Arab women to get to work, to fight a lot of barriers, government and general policy barriers, also internal Arab society barriers. So this is something that we work for a long time. It is, you could say that this, for example, this area or this sector of our work is not a traditional union job. It's broader than that, although it encompasses also union work.
Has a big social aspect to it.
Absolutely, social and political and cultural aspect. Maybe we can go back to it because we have an initiative right now on this, like a coalition to fight for our women's right in society. We have an effort, long-time effort that we are doing with truck drivers. It's a sector that is neglected in Israel, and it's sort of the composition of the workforce in the truck driving business is really for Jews and Arabs to be mixed in every company, including a very important segment of the Jewish workers who are Russian origin, and they tend to be people with difficulties with the language. This is why they choose to be drivers. So we are publishing leaflets and things in 3 languages, in Arabic, in Hebrew, and in Russian. And for a long time we're working on this. Just recently we had a new initiative of drivers in a very important company. So this is another place where we are doing work. We are doing emphasis work and quite a lot of approach with teachers especially in private art colleges. Recently also through this came to know and to be involved with music teachers in music centers. We had a very good court decision in our favor last January in one of the most important schools, art schools in Tel Aviv. We are operating an office actually more here again, not exactly union typical job in East Jerusalem for Palestinian workers, unemployed workers, and we are doing a special effort with Palestinians in the settlements, organizing them. And apart from this, we are open to anybody that just happens to be interested.
How many thousand workers do you organise, and what proportion are Israeli Jews, Israeli Arabs, and Palestinian Arabs from the occupied territories?
We have 2,000 members.
2,000.
In broader terms, I could say that we have 400 in the Jerusalem occupied territories, Palestinians. Something like 1,000 Arab Israelis or citizens, Arab citizens of Israel, and something like 500, 700 Jews.
Do you think how many of those workplaces are actually, presumably you're organising agricultural workers in Galilee, you're organising Palestinian Arab women, right? And none of the workforce will be Israeli Jews. I'm just wondering how many of those workers are from workplaces which are mixed. Are the truck drivers, for example?
The truck driver is absolutely mixed. If you talk about farm sector, we have also certain intervention and work among construction workers, music and art teachers. These are all sort of one type. I mean, in the music, in the art and music teachers, great majority, 99% Jews. In the farm sector, construction sector, you have migrants, but you don't have Jewish Israelis or only Arab Israelis. So it's some of the places are by nature it's an organization that is only for one specific group.
I mean, presumably the Israeli Jews are there because they have made a political decision, or they are in a workplace which is strongly influenced by somebody who has made a political decision to join this union.
I would not say this choice would be very clearly political. For example, we have like a group of, it's a new thing that has not been just started, but it's in a very important art school, quite significant, with almost 250 teachers, and they approached us to organize. So you might ask, and sometimes this happens, you know, they go to Institute, and they go to us, and they go to a third sort of Koach Laudim, it's a powerful workers, also sort of a new union, and they make like go to the supermarket, you know, check on all of them, and then they decide. So if they go to the three groups, the three unions, and they decide on Ma'an, on us, this will be a political decision.
Yeah.
But for some people, because of the experience, personal experience with our people, you know, they tend to see Ma'an as a responsible, serious, realistic, open-minded, and also represents for them not a political position in a particular party line, but in a very general sense that they are fed up with racism. They are fed up like in Tel Aviv, I give you just like one thing that is just gives you an idea. Tel Aviv has a significant community of African asylum seekers from Eritrea and Sudan. And there is a racist talk by the right wing in Israel to support the poor Israelis in the south of Tel Aviv that suffer so much from the Africans. And there is a general tendency of the Histadrut and Labour Party in Israel not to speak about it, just look the other way. And the fact that we are there and we speak about it and we are standing up on racism, it's not Arab question. For them, for these people in Tel Aviv, they feel that we feel that you are people who are projecting a progressive agenda. So we can trust you because you are serious, because we can trust you professionally as union, but also because you project. And they know, of course, that we are working with Palestinians. For them also, it is something that they see as positive.
Yes.
Again, it is not necessarily that they know exactly. They know that this union has to do with a political party, but they might don't vote for this party. No? But it's legitimate, and this is your view. I have another view. That I vote for Meretz. I vote for Labour Party because it's more practical or something. But when I go to the union, I want the union to be serious and to stand up for me.
Okay, I thought what you said about your relations with the Histadrut was interesting, because you said so for example, in general, we're against unions splitting, the TUC splitting, and we're against splits even in circumstances when the people that are doing the splitting are basically right.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So and obviously for us, what we're trying to do is revolutionise the workers' movement as a whole.
Yes.
So there's a danger of splitting yourself off.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if you might just embellish a bit on that point about why you think it is reasonable or a good thing to do what you're doing rather than, for example, engaging through the history.
Yes, but first of all, it's important to understand that the initiation of WAC MAAN was not a split from the Histadrut. It came from a completely different place, from the political movement for progress, for Palestinian rights, for peace, and against racism. Okay, so the fact that we are doing anything about labor, workers, regardless if it's outside the Histadrut or inside the Histadrut, is a net contribution, a new contribution to the struggle. Now for us, so the question was whether or not, let's say, theoretically there is a question, why didn't you, if you wanted to do something about labor, why didn't you join the Histadrut? Well, when we started this initiative in the 90s, the Histadrut was in a very fast and rash to accept neoliberal perspective. There was this change in the Histadrut leadership led by Ramon and Peretz at that time, and they just sold everything that belonged to the Histadrut to private owners, and they were just going in. They were closing all the offices in the Arab towns and villages. They actually sort of announced that the end of unionism, of socialism, they cancelled the May Day. They changed the flag of the Histadrut was red something. The hammer. They just cancelled it. It was. They were just moving in the other direction. Okay, so and especially on the question of the Palestinians and of the occupation and all this, they were so bad, always, and still are. So we and also in terms of, there's another aspect which differentiates Histadrut from the TUC or the unions in Britain, in other countries, there's no possibility actually for a democratic discussion in this group. It's a political structure, and actually there is the independent trade union or the sector unions are actually completely subordinated to the center. It's a very central organization. If they negotiate the big struggle of the social workers 4 years ago, the person who negotiated for the social workers union and accepted the agreement that was unacceptable by the workers was the chairman of this group, and he just forced upon them to accept it. So for all these reasons, it was not possible to us to just jump into this group and to join it.
Can I ask, but from what you said before, you seem to be placing the Palestinian question as a central question. Making decisions like the one you make about the history of the question for you is the Palestinian question.
The Palestinian question undoubtedly is a central issue in Israel. Israel is
do you think there's what I'm saying is, do you think there's when you're deciding on trade union questions, do you think there's anything that's slightly problematic about posing the question in that way? It's one thing having a united trade union over thousands and thousands of workers, which then takes a position on the war or the Palestinian question. It's another thing taking a position on the Palestinian question and trying to build a union around that. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you say, but you have to understand that another very important difference between the Institute and the TUC is the origins of the organization. So the problem with the Institute is not that it is taking a wrong position on a major issue. This could happen to a union, and you don't leave the union because it took a wrong position. You fight to change the position because you are part of a tradition that union came out of. It's a tradition of the struggle for workers' rights, for democracy. This is where trade unions in Britain came from. The Institute came from a completely different direction. It was part of the Zionist project, and in its own way, it has become a union that, with all its difficulties, it's playing role in the social and political scene in Israel, and we are trying to work with it. But it is very different. Like if you talk about a perspective of a union or social movement or progressive movement that unites Arabs and Jews together on an equal basis, the Institute cannot be in this place. If in order for the Institute to be in this place, you have to have someone that will just from the middle of the establishment of the Institute, it will be a very deep reformer to open up to a new situation. This is not there. We are not there.
Could I ask about the way you posed the solution to the Palestinian question was very specific. You talked about movements in other Arab states being necessary to make such a solution possible and viable. I kind of think the other way around, in a way, is that the key to the key to the creation of the Palestinian state actually lies inside Israel, and that as a consequence, well, this is a kind of extended question, I suppose. As a consequence, don't you think that you would rather, if you pose the question that way, one of the implications might be is you might be rather, what some people in the audience felt was that you were rather optimistic about the aftermath of the Arab Spring, and you might come to that conclusion because you really want to see the Palestinian question solved, and the way you've framed the Palestinian question is that it's dependent on these other Arab countries coming to the Palestinian state's backing. But nevertheless, surely isn't it? But however, given the description you made about the Israeli occupation of the Arab territories, the fact that it's gone on for such a long time, there's actually quite a lot of integration across that territory. surely the key to it is acquiring a government that is willing to make a viable peace with the Palestinians in Israel. And that's the central thing.
Yes, but how do you reach this point in this way? Of course, you see the first of all, I admit that I really want to reach this place where you have a solution and you have an end to the occupation and independence for the Palestinians. But it is not. It is not like an emotional position or short-range temptation to have some short solutions. I'm on the contrary. If I put it the way I put it, I'm putting conditions that are very difficult to achieve.
Yes, you certainly are. Yeah.
But I want to be realistic, and to tell you the truth, we are speaking about it. The fact that there will not be a solution to the Palestinian problem since 20 years, and this is why this is very important, because the idea that you, in the current regional and international relationship forces, you can have a solution to the Palestinian question, creates or pushes you or leads you to some conclusions on your tactics. What are you doing in order to achieve it? And so we said we were opposed to the Oslo Agreement, to Arafat signing the Oslo Agreement, because they said you cannot have out of this agreement, under these circumstances, you will not get anything. It will be false negotiations. So we opposed this, and then we opposed very strongly, and this is where we just came to a big contradiction with many parts of the left, including New Britain. We opposed the second Intifada military struggle that promised in 5 years to annihilate Israel. We said this is wrong. This, in the current relationship forces, this will just bring destruction of the Palestinian people. So we said it is when you have relationship of forces that are against you, it doesn't mean you have to capitulate, but it means that you have to lead your struggle in a way, in a manner that is realistic, and to keep your energies, like you run the marathon, you don't run 500 meters. It's very important what is the length of the. So this is one thing. Another thing about the Arab Spring. What I'm saying that on the Arab Spring, it's not a wishful thinking. I'm not saying that tomorrow it will win. I said many times in my talk. I said it's not in the short run. But I'm saying it based on very intimate following, knowledge, reading, following so many initiatives, so many new voices, so many people who write and act and fight in the labor movement in Egypt, in the left, in people in Syria, people in Yemen. So it's a reflection of the fact that I think that strategically speaking, without a change for the better in the regional region, you will not be able to solve the Palestinian question. But I'm optimistic about it because I think it's a real force that cannot be repressed. How long it would take, I don't know.
Can I ask, I was at the beginning of the second Intifada, I personally was actually quite sympathetic to the Intifada, and actually I thought that it made some sense alongside the negotiations they were trying at Taba and elsewhere. However, it very quickly turned into something else, and it wasn't just wrong because it would bring decimation, which it surely would, the suicide bombing campaigns and things like that, led by Hamas. It wasn't just wrong because it would bring defeat on the Palestinians, which it would. It was wrong because it was wrong. Because, walking into Jewish pizza parlours in Jerusalem with a bomb is insane.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, right.
It was reactionary.
Yes, good.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. And also, it's also this, for a certain period of time, especially around 2006, the war in Lebanon, Hassan Nasrallah was like a hero of the liberation movement, and everybody admired him. And I remember I talked to a person who was critical in the Israeli Communist Party, was very critical of them and really supportive of what he was saying. He said, "You cannot speak like this. This is what he told me. You cannot speak like this." And we were just saying this is sectarian forces using the fight against Israel in order to overcome Lebanon and to take over Lebanon and to force upon Lebanon a sectarian position. Now everybody says, well, look what he's doing. He's hated now because he just sent his soldiers to fight the Syrian people. But then, 10 years ago, he was a hero. So I think we are sort of opposing this kind of dichotomy of the one side you have the regimes which are pro-Americans, and the other side you have the Islamic movement, and the left just disappeared. Part of them, for example, the left in Egypt, the Tajammu, they just joined Mubarak because they wanted somebody to defend them against the Islamic movement, which was absolutely wrong. So I see in the Arab Spring a third element, a third force that comes not there and not there projecting a progressive agenda, and this for us it was like a spring of water in the middle of the desert.
Sometimes you get that is a very good way of putting the third force idea. But sometimes people speak about a third force, and that third force is nearer to one side than the other. So, do you mind if I just ask you about your attitude to the Islamist movements? I mean, you can complain about the workers' movement and parts of the workers' movement having sympathy for the remnants of Mubarak's state because they're scared. They have a real problem. They're scared of the Islamists, and the Islamists are a real physical threat. You can make the mirror mistake of being too close and too sympathetic to the Islamists. I mean, I spoke in our meeting about the British left, it's sympathetic to Hamas, despite the fact Hamas has smashed up trade unions in Gaza. They don't care about it. It's just ridiculous. They just don't care about it. Yes, all they care about is that Hamas says it opposes the Americans and throws rockets at Israel, which is stupid in and of itself. I mean, it's just nonsense.
I'll tell you. I think in looking generally on the Arab world, the Islamic movement, first of all, it's very heterogeneous. You have different forces even in the same country, and even in the Muslim Brotherhood movement you have different versions, like you had in the communist movement. You had the Chinese, you had the Khmer Rouge,
but there's a similarity as well, isn't there? There were differences, but the Khmer Rouge and the Maoists were all awful, as was Brezhnev, who was different again. And the Muslim Brothers is surely different from IS, but they're both reactionary.
Well, but you see, I think there's many similarities. I think I think if you had a correct and balanced position towards the communist movement, a critical position with the communist movement, you could learn from it how to deal with the Islamic movement. I think we had an experience in our past. A person from the Tupac Amaru of Uruguay was in jail, and they allowed him, I think it was 1980 or something, they allowed him to, he was a Jew, so they allowed him to go out to Israel if he wants to go out of jail. So he accepted it, and he came to Israel for half a year, and then he got the passport and he went to Sweden. So we met him then, and by chance, and he said, at 1980, he said, if you want to build an alternative party, alternative movement to the Communist Party, you cannot exclude them. You must find a way to collaborate with them. Don't join them, but collaborate with them. Don't fight them as the enemy. And of course, if you want to collaborate with the Islamic, going back to the, I think, in my opinion, personal opinion, the experience of the broad front in Uruguay and Pepe Mujica as a president was the most encouraging and stimulating and thing that happened in the last, all over the world. It is a very important, let's say, implementation of this guy's advice at that time. But going back to the Islamic movement, I think it depends, of course, on them, But what was wrong, I think, with the Egyptian left and Egyptian secular forces is the fact that after the revolution they were hesitant in organizing themselves towards the elections. They were hesitant in participating in the elections or not, while the Islamic movement just went into it and were organized. And then when Morsi got elected, they tended to stand with the army against him, and they gave the army the possibility to make the military coup, which is just disastrous. Some of them, until recently, they supported General Sisi. So I think on the contrary, for example, in Tunisia, you have the Nahda movement in Tunisia. The Islamic movement in Tunisia is led by people who are unique in their openness. They were ready to give a lot of concessions, or they were the majority, but still they accepted a constitution that is not one-sided like Morsi did. They allowed for elections, and I think it shows that it's possible if the other side corresponds to you or talks with you, it is possible to collaborate with certain parts of the Islamic movement that learn the lesson. I think the Egyptian Islamic movement must learn the lesson now. If there is another possibility, hopefully there will be new forces that will understand that the way Morsi behaved was stupid, was factional, was even from their perspective.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's a difference between Morsi being tactically inept. I mean, there were plenty of people who were Muslim Brothers members who would accept that designation. And there's another thing about being willing to work with Morsi or his supporters. It's interesting you should say about Ennahda, because I was thinking that you must be thinking possibly about Morsi and possibly about Ennahda. I had a polemic with the daughter of the leader of Ennahda in the British Guardian newspaper. Okay. She had an appeal which seems similar. I'm going to ask you. It seems similar to the sort of thing that you're advocating, which is a block between the socialist left and Ennahda supporters for progress in Tunisia. Okay. And I said, no, don't touch them. The socialists in Ennahda should not be in, I mean, I suppose in the abstract you might imagine, for example, in Britain, you might imagine organising a demonstration in defence of, for instance, a mosque. At the end of my road, there's a big mosque. It was going to be attacked by the EDL, by the fascists. I can imagine coming to a practical agreement to defend a mosque. I couldn't imagine doing anything more in politics with that.
Yes, but you see, the thing is like this. The left in Tunisia, the Popular Front, the Workers' Party, Maoist, Albania, Workers' Party, now it's Popular Front, they actually support Assad. So for me, the communist parties or the ex-communist parties who now take sides with Iran and Assad are not an ally. It's a problem. It's a force that is very difficult to collaborate with. And they were taking, in Tunisia, for example, they were taking positions that were as I see, they lost the possibility, the understanding of the process that is going on, and And I would tend to criticize Nahda because they joined now this Nida Tunis, the party that won the elections. They joined the government. It's a very pro-capitalist, and I think the most important challenge in Tunisia and in general in the Arab countries that they want to reconstruct. It's a question of creating jobs, a question of poverty, the question of services. It's a big challenge on this, and this is where you have to discuss or to measure on the Islamic movement whether or not they are ready to collaborate on this. And I would tend to say, well, let's work together to the benefit of the people. You agree that we need jobs, you agree that we need housing, you agree that we need schools, you agree that we need hospitals, you agree that we need to rebuild our road system and railway system, you agree that we need to create our economy. If you agree on this, let's work together. And you agree, and it's most importantly, you agree on the democratic system that you are, everybody is subjugated, or everybody is accepting the rule of the people in the vote. Nobody will take over because we are the majority or we go to the army against you. If you agree on this, we can work together. If you don't agree on this, there's no way.
I'm very aware that Eric wants to...
No, go ahead. Only if you invite.
What?
Well, yeah, I think Eric wants to talk to you, but also you want to chat, don't you? So I'm going to end our interview sometimes.
End whenever you want.
So, okay. So, final question, really. I wondered if you could spell out a little bit more about your political perspective inside Israel.
Well, it was a discussion right now was a little bit, going around, not to the, I think I was, first of all, in the talk, I was giving some information about the work that we are doing with workers, the possibility of collaboration with other forces. I think that if you understand, as I understand the relationship of forces, the situation around, also in Palestine, as Hamas, as you mentioned, is repressing Fatah and other people, creating a situation of complete dictatorship in Gaza, and also losing the connection with Palestine. They are just creating a state in Gaza. The PA in the West Bank is repressing the Hamas and others, including the unions, and collaborating with the Israelis. So the situation in Palestine is very, very negative. And all over the Arab world, the scenes that you are seeing are negative. So it's very hard to see how, to go back to your idea that we need to find forces in Israel. We need to find forces, and we are doing a lot of effort in order to open discussion and to open up for new forces and new elements in the Israeli society, and we are positive on this, that it is possible. But we cannot have a breakthrough in the Israeli society towards a progressive perspective unless the Israelis can relate to a major, significant, serious force in the Arab and Palestinian side. Like I can tell you that when the Palestinians, under the leadership of the PLO in 1988, 1989, started in Intifada, there was very clearly a leading force. The Palestinians stood behind it. It was clearly standing for a two-state solution. And at that point, there was really a change in the Israeli society towards this. I think the Oslo Agreement was like a miscarriage, as we saw it. It was not a child that was born, it was a miscarriage. It was too premature and was not really a solution. But the tendency at that point was towards the PLO and change the position on this. And I think, so what we are trying to do, what we are trying to project is a practical, social, trade union, cultural effort to open up different ideas, different groups, different initiatives, to discuss with them, to collaborate with them, to create a space where we are part of a general effort of Jews and Arabs that want to look inside their societies, like Jews go into the society and fight against racism, fight against isolationism, fight against tendencies to the right wing, to the colonialist perspective, and fight for peace, fight for equality. And in the Arab society, people who are ready to fight against isolation, against counter-racism, against any Jew, any Israeli, fight for women equality, fight for freedom of speech. So it's like a very careful puzzle that you have to build now. It's not a knockout situation. It's a situation where you have to work very carefully, who you work with, how you do it, and to progress step by step. And we feel we are making progress. We feel that we are creating more connections, more relations, more collaborations. People really tend to appreciate the work that we are doing, and the rest is what will happen around. It's not about our effort. We are doing our effort where we can.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice speaking to you.
Okay.
Yes.